Good evening and welcome to the Monday, August 19, 2019 special meeting, budget workshop of the Rochester Hills City Council. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Ms. Deduce, if you would call roll, please.
President Tisdall.
Here.
Vice President Marita.
Here.
Dr. Boyer.
Here.
Mr. Deal.
Here.
Mr. Hetrick.
Here.
Mr. Kubasina.
Here.
Mr. Walker.
Here.
President Tisdall, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. If everyone would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Dadouche, if you would put my screen up, please. And Vice President Marita, I'm going to turn it over to you for a minute.
Thank you. This is harder than I thought it was going to be. It is with great sadness that we recently, one of our own recently lost one of her own. And up on our screen, you'll see a picture of Douglas Scott. He was one of our veterans. And I would ask that everyone please take a moment of silence in his memory. Thank you. If you're at all interested, donations can be made to codeofvets.com, www.codeofvets.com. If you need specifics, please reach out to the clerk's office. Thank you.
All right. Approval of agenda this evening. I have received no requests or motion by Dr. Boyer, seconded by Mr. Hetrick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public comment for items not on the agenda. Anything? Nothing. Legislative and administrative comments. I'll start it off with nothing whatsoever. Same for Vice President Marita.
I second that.
Okay, Dr. Boyer.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Mr. Deal.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Mr. Hetrick.
Well, I do have something, but really I don't. I have nothing today.
Okay, Mr. Kubasina.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Walker.
Nothing for me.
Anything from you, Mr. Mayor? And we can begin. Mr. Snyder.
Well, thank you, President Tisdale, City Council, and Mayor Barnett, and welcome to the fiscal year 2020 through 2022 budget workshop. One moment, please. Where's I?
Did you just throw this together this afternoon, or
Actually, I
Is that-
realized at the last moment here, this is,
thought you'd have something for tonight? And
we'll just wing it.
yeah.
That looks much better.
There you go.
Okay. So we are here tonight to present before you the Older Persons Commission, RARA, and the city's proposed 2020 to 2022 three-year budgets. So we have three multi-year budgets to present before you tonight. Going first and kicking off tonight, presenting their respective budgets will be Tim Sauvé and Renee Courtwright from the OPC. And then we'll follow that up with Ron Jewell from RARA with all city budgets presentations to follow. So we can have Tim and Renee come on up.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor Barnett, President Tisdale, and Rochester Hills City Council members. Tim Sauvé, Finance Director, and I are here this evening to present the 2020 to 2022 budget. I'd like to first recognize the representatives on the OPC Governing Board, Stephanie Marita and Jim Kubasina, and Senior Representatives Michelin Summers and Jack Dalton. Thank you for your commitment to the OPC. We had another record year of achievements, and I'd like to take this time to tell you why OPC is a great place to be 50 plus. So OPC by the numbers. Nutrition, prepared, served, and delivered 121,257 meals. Transportation provided 47,519 trips. Adult day service, 51 participants. Senior support services, 6,835 units of service. This includes telephone, information referral requests, commodity food programs, support groups, medical equipment loans, which include wheelchairs, walkers, canes, Medicare, Medicaid assistance, and more. Enrichment, fine arts, and performing arts had 39,824 participants. Leisure travel, 62 day and extended trips, and that's 1,717 travelers. Fitness and aquatic, 161,605 participants, and volunteers accumulated 39,824 hours. We continually are updating our programs to meet the needs of our members. In March, we added boxing for Parkinson's, box fit, and kickboxing classes. Outdoor offerings include a women's softball team. We already have 4 men's softball teams, kayaking and archery workshops at local parks, and we offer a wide variety of art and craft and enrichment programs and classes. Breakfast and dinner with the dock is a new addition with our wellness partner, Ascension Providence Rochester, and the Veterans Connection is a monthly meetup where we have, which has been a great benefit to the veterans in the area. We have currently 19,053 registered members. The percentage in each age range is the following: 19% for the 50 to 59-year-olds, 37% for the 60 to 69-year-olds. We have 26% for the 70 to 79-year-olds and 18% for the 80-plus. The walking track is where it's at, with over 42,000 duplicate participants taking advantage of that track, especially during the winter. Socialization is the nucleus of the programs and services offered at the center, and recent medical studies have found that consistent social interactions help to keep people mentally, physically, and emotionally fit. We've witnessed this firsthand recently with the 100th birthday of Francis, who plays bridge regularly at the OPC, and Howie, who celebrated his 90th birthday, first with cake and then with 5 games of pickleball, many of which he won. So it's incredible, all that we're doing. Thank you to the council members for your continued support of the programs and services at OPC, and how we're keeping the 50-plus active and healthy living in Rochester Hills. At this time, Tim will now give a brief overview of the budget.
Good evening. As Renee said, this will be brief because I know you received the budget at least a month ago and had a chance to look at it. So just to give you the highlights, it is actually a rather stand-pat budget this time around. There are no new positions requested, no new organizations, no new transfers, no changes of that kind at all. It's literally a stand-pat budget. A couple things that are included in there is a general raise of 2% for the employees beginning October 1. In addition, you should know, which I think most of you do know, that the OPC has contracted with McGrath HR, who the city had also contracted to do a compensation study. They're in the midst of that study. We don't anticipate a draft of that until sometime this fall, which we will have to bring to the OPC board first before it goes anyplace else. So there is some money set aside for that study, but there's no decisions made on that, just a benchmark in there for that. In addition, I think as most of you know, the OPC board 2 years ago set a policy that their fund balance would be at least 25% of expenditures, and that fund balance will not be used for anything other than one-time extraordinary purchases or capital needs. Pursuant to our interlocal agreement, the OPC cannot borrow. Therefore, any capital needs have to come from fund balance or from fundraising. So you will notice in the budget that we do plan to use fund balance over the next 3 years to meet our capital needs as the facility gets older. However, even at the end of 3 years, we'll still be approximately 30% of expenditures, which is above our 25% target, and this is very conservative. That doesn't include any special fundraising or anything else we try to engage in. So in a nutshell, that's basically what we have there. Again, pretty much a stand-pat status quo budget for right now.
Okay. Council, anything? Mr. Kubicina.
Thank you, President Tisdale. Thank you, Ms. Courtwright and Tim Suave for showing up and giving an excellent presentation. I don't know of anyone that doesn't love OPC, and I'm proud to be on that board with Vice President Marita. And at some point, we probably should change the name and take the older out of there, because you go over there and just, you see all kind of activity and people, and if you don't believe me, go over there and challenge somebody to play pickleball and see if you don't get your butt kicked. You only have to be 50 to join, so 50 is pretty young in my eyes anyway. So thanks a lot for the presentation. I love the position of the fund balance, and it's just a terrifically run organization from top to bottom. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Boyer.
Thank you, President Tisdale. Mr. Chauvet, Ms. Corright, thank you very much for coming. OPC, of course, near and dear to my heart. I'm a member. I must have been mentally challenged when I sent you that email about the 0.5% salary increase, because then I was looking now and I was looking at the budgeted for 19 past the forecast and not. So it's nice to see that you're getting a 2%, but I'm really glad that you're going to do the salary study. As we did the salary study for everybody here at Rochester Hills, the main campus, that it's nice to know that you guys will bring yourselves in line with what is competitive. So it's good to see. Mr. Sauvé, again, just if I could get that percentage change, it would just make looking at all these numbers so much easier. Just that column, really just between 19 and 20 is the only one I need the percent change on, so it's easier to read what changes and how much it changes. But otherwise, thank you very much.
Mr. Hetrick.
Thank you, President Tisdale. Ms. Courtright and Mr. Sauvé, it's a terrific presentation, and since we're talking about budgets, I have to compliment you on making sure that you maintain that fund balance over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, even while you're using that money for capital improvements. That's a testament to how well run the organization is. But I do have to put a plug in for some of the programs. Adding things like archery and stuff like that, oh my gosh, I think it's terrific. Mr. Kubicina said it exactly right. As folks think about aging, I think in today's world, they're thinking more about how to be active, and putting programs like that in place, I think is terrific, number one. But since we're here for budgets, it's more important to know that you guys are on very stable financial ground going forward. So I thank you for the presentation and for doing the right thing from a budgetary standpoint.
Thank you, Mr. Hetrick. That's it. My thanks as well. Mr. Snyder? Yeah.
Sure. Mr. Jewell is here from RARA to
There we
present
go.
the Rochester Avon Recreation Authority
Microphone
budget.
check. I'm in too.
Take it away.
Okay, good evening, Rochester Hills Mayor, Council President, and City Council. On behalf of the Rochester Avon Recreation Authority, myself, along with RARA's Treasurer, Joseph Snyder, submit to you the fiscal year 20 through 22 budget for your review and consideration. The RARA Board approved this budget unanimously at the July 18th meeting. This is the second year of a 3-year rolling budget, rather than in 1 year, for us to better help plan and oversee RARA's budget going forward. This year's budget process, again, worked collaboratively with Joe, RARA's treasurer, to submit this year's proposed budget. This proposed budget is fiscally conservative and works toward achieving RARA's 20% fund balance reserve target, at the same time factoring in RARA's commitment to its staff and program offerings to the community we serve. Now that the construction dust has settled, RARA administration and staff is focusing heavily on continuing to better our current programs, and at the same time staying on top of the current recreation trends to offer to our community. Our nearly 60,000 square foot recreation complex has become a hub for recreation programs and services and events. The Fieldhouse, Gymnastics Training Center, the Playscape, and dance studios continue to see growth each year. The addition of the fitness center and gymnasiums in 2017 gives RARA more programmable space and also provides residents the opportunity to have free-range recreational access in a safe environment that promotes health and wellness. Participation growth over the past year has been remarkable. Day passes through July each year have increased: 1,217, 2,218, 2,819. Membership scans, again, 3,017, 16,018, and 22,019. Both memberships and rental fees are anticipated again to meet or exceed our conservatively budgeted fiscal year 2020 numbers. Birthday parties, lock-ins, and court rentals continue to increase as more and more residents look to our wonderful programs and our facilities as a preferred venue. RARA is very proud to see significant program growth over the last several years. In partnership with the 4 entities that make up RARA, we provide comprehensive recreation programs, facilities, and services which respond to the changing needs of our community. RARA has some fresh new faces there. They're dedicated to continuing the tradition of offering great programming by continually cultivating our mainstay programs and at the same time offering new and exciting programs for our residents. We strive to enrich the quality of life for Greater Rochester residents through our extensive and varied recreational programs, and RARA is very much woven into the fabric of this great community, and we look forward to continuing to be the premier recreation provider for this great community. At this time, I'd like to turn over to RARA's treasurer, Joseph Snyder, for additional comments.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Well, now's the fun part. We get into the charts. So this chart, this illustrates a historical trend and a projection of RARA's fund balance. You may recall that RARA finished fiscal year 2017 with a fund balance deficit. However, since that point, RARA has adjusted some things. RARA has moved to a 3-year rolling budget and a long-term financial plan, very similar to City of Rochester Hills. Rochester has adopted a conservative approach to projecting its revenues and expenditures, similar to Rochester Hills. Rochester has developed a capital improvement plan to help plan for future capital projects, similar to Rochester Hills. And RARA has adopted a fund balance policy, similar to Rochester Hills. Illustrated in the orange line is RARA's fund balance reserve minimum target balance to hit. The fiscal year 2020 RARA budget presented before you tonight projects for RARA to achieve its 20% fund balance minimum target by year-end 2020. And this is within the 3-year time period called for in RARA's fund balance policy. We began this process in 2018, and at this point, midway through August of 2019, we are over halfway there. RARA looks well to be in sight to achieve its immediate funding goal next year and is poised well for the long-term future. Thank you.
Council? Dr. Boyer?
Thank you, President Tisdale. Well, Mr. Gill, I just want to say thank you so much. From where we were in 2017 to where we are today, it looks so much better for RARA. So I'm really glad that that planning and that foresight for the 3-year budget and Mr. Schneider, all your help with that. So it looks great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Deal?
Thank you, President Tisdale. I'd just like to say, I took over, I was first elected in November 2017. I took over on the RARA board in December of 2017. So when I came on board, we were in a little bit of a different position than we were today. We had a negative fund balance. We had the build-out issues and things like that. Since that time, with the help of Mr. Snyder and Mr. Jewell, we've come a long, long way. And I think Mr. Snyder has done an excellent job laying out the steps that we've taken to get to where we are today. So what I want to do at this point is just to thank both of you for your collaboration and hard work that you've put into getting us to where we are today. And this is just once again, if you had asked me if we'd be sitting here looking at this back when I came on board in 2017, I would probably be a little bit more than stunned. But to be honest with you, we're in a great financial position, and I'm so happy with the budget that you've presented to us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Council, thank you very much. Mr. Jewell, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Snyder?
I'm going to move over. As I'm a male, I'm not very good at multitasking, so I've asked Ms. McDaniel to help me out here with it.
What do you mean?
Oh,
sorry.
I think of one thing at a time. Oh. All right. Well, thank you again, President Tisdale, City Council, and Mayor Barnett. And we are now here to present before you the City of Rochester Hills proposed 2020 to 2022 budget. So some of the key components of our budget plan include the current 2019 to 2021 budget, 3-year budget that we're working within. Last year's projections for 2020 and 2021 helped set the foundation for this 2020 to 2022 3-year budget plan. The capital improvement plan covering fiscal years 2020 to 2025, and this identifies our capital projects citywide over the upcoming 6 years. We'll also refer to the 7-year forecast that I presented back in July a few weeks ago. I will readdress those long-term 7-year projections as we are now focusing our sights on the near-term 3-year budget plan. And also cannot be understated is the City Council's Strategic Planning Technical Review Committee. First, by establishing their fiscal year 2020 goals and objectives, which help set the foundation for what this budget sits upon, and as well by adopting the Governmental Fund Balance Reserve Policy last year. Both of these items affirm City Council's intent and focus throughout this budget process. Well, in keeping with the success of prior year budgets, we are continuing to present a 3-year budget plan. And these estimates are based on our most up-to-date assumptions. And just so you know, these are very consistent with the estimates and assumptions presented as part of the 7-year forecast a few weeks ago. And most importantly, really most importantly, and the key to the success of our prior year budgets, we are continuing to budget conservatively. What this means is revenues we realistically believe we can achieve and expenditures we realistically believe we can live within. What this does, it ensures that what we can deliver, what is proposed in this budget plan. So let's take a look now at the overall 2020 proposed budget. The 2020 proposed budget includes $168 million of expenditures. Some of the largest categories of the proposed budget include public service of 27%, or $46 million, and this includes all the DPS operations, from major roads, local streets, pathways, stormwater, water sewer, and fleet. One of the next big categories is public safety in red. 15% of the total budget, or $25 million. This includes our police and our fire forces. As well, one of the last big items is capital outlay of 23%, or $38 million. And this represents the proposed investment in infrastructure and quality of life improvements in the city. Those 3 categories, public service, public safety, and capital outlay, they comprise over $109 million, or 65% of this budget. And this really represents our city's commitment towards public safety and infrastructure management, City Council's goals number 1 and 2. We feel by focusing our resources this way, we can continue to enhance our economic tax base, which is City Council goal number 3, with a great emphasis in this budget on parks, museum, and our natural resources, which is Council goal number 4. We've realigned our financial structure to provide greater transparency as to the management of the city's funds, which is goal number 5. And tonight, we're going to review a well-planned and fiscally responsible budget, which is goal number 6. A budget which is proactive to protect and enhance the quality of life of Rochester Hills residents, number 7. And this budget will provide clear direction to the city programs to ensure the efficient use of taxpayer funds, goal number 8. And this budget conserves our environment, goal 9, and values our innovative and diverse city workforce, which is goal 10. And that's all the fingers I have, and that's all the goals we have, so we'll move on. Let's take a little closer look at the $38 million in proposed capital projects. The bulk, a big chunk here, is for water and sewer, $13 million worth of projects proposed, including water main replacements of the Glidewell subdivision and Michelson Drive. There's an Oakland-Macomb Interceptor District sanitary sewer improvements through the Oakland County Water Resources Commission. And yes, this is a big year for water and sewer infrastructure projects, and this is a trend which will continue over the next 10 to 20 years to replace the water and sewer infrastructure which was installed 50 to 60 years ago as this city, Rochester Hills, or as Avon Township back then, was being developed in the 70s and 80s and is nearing, some of the infrastructure is nearing the end of its serviceable life. Well, the next big categories of capital is in facilities. We have a playground construction at Innovation Hills in the budget, as well as construction of a museum equipment barn, the roof replacement of the museum dairy barn, and a reconfiguration of the clerk's vault. We have $6.4 million of local street work performed, including a $5 million local street rehabilitation program, $5.6 million of major road work, including Harding Road, Austin Avenue, Auburn Road from Rochester Road to Culbertson to meet up with the Auburn Road Corridor project happening this year. John R. from Avon to Bloomer, and some major road bridge repair work. There's also $2.8 million of fleet replacement, which will replace 42 pieces of fleet equipment and vehicles in the city, and $1.8 million from fire capital, primarily for the replacement of 2 fire engines. So to fund the proposed $168 million in expenditures for 2020, our major sources of conservatively proposed revenue include service charges, which includes water and sewer charges, building department fees, et cetera. Taxes is the next largest, and we are proposing to maintain the same bottom millage rate for this year, for next year's budget of 10.4605. So no change in the bottom line city millage rate is proposed, and this will mark the 5th year in a row we've held the same millage rate. Intergovernmental revenue includes state shared revenue and Act 51. Transfers in are really the flip side of the transfers out, and we noted that in the overall expenditure budget. And lastly, I'll focus on funds required from fund balance of $29.6 million. And reminder, we are proposing $37.9 million of capital outlay, so that's non-operating. And this is really, again, the key metric for me in the entire budget process. And again, good news that overall our annual operating revenues are proposed to exceed our annual operating expenditures by the difference in that amount of $38 million of capital, less $29 million from fund balance to propose it. And so our structural surplus is projected at $8.5 million going into 2020. Actually, a structurally surplus budget, where our ongoing revenues are greater than expenditures. And then you have to also keep in mind that the city is, and as long as I'm here, we're going to continue to budget conservatively. We have a long track record of exceeding our revenues and living within our expenditures, kind of an outperforming our conservative projections, sort of an under-promise and over-deliver approach to budgeting. So with some of these overall pictures of the city's 2020 budget in mind, now we'll focus the next portion to give you an overview of some of the city's most significant funds, forecasted over the next 7 years so you can better envision the projected long-term fiscal impacts of the 2020 to 2022 proposed budget plan. We'll start with general fund. The impacts from the new governmental policy are being incorporated in 2019, and the increase in the red line there, the expenditures in 2019, is a transfer out to the capital improvement fund to set the general fund balance at 80% of annual operating expenditures. Per policy, any general fund surplus in excess of 80% shall be transferred out to the capital improvement fund to fund citywide capital improvements. Long-term looking forward, once we get past some of the noise here in 2017 and 18 and 19, this chart is not going to change a whole heck of a lot. It's going to be very stable like that. We'll keep the general fund balance right around $18.5 million and slowly growing forward. Now, just keep in mind what I mentioned on the last slide, that we, the City of Rochester Hills, budget conservatively. Over the last 9 years, or from 2010 to 2018, we have exceeded our original budgeted revenue estimates by an average of 4%. That ends up meaning an extra $1 million in revenue for the general fund. As well, we've come in under budget on expenditures by an average of 6%. So that means another $1.5 million under budget. What we call this is a combined positive budget variance, and it's yielded, through those numbers, over $2 million per year for the general fund on average, better than we originally budgeted or anticipated. And as our fund balance policy states that the general fund should be maintained at a reserve level of 70 to 80% of annual expenditures, this positive budget variance we realize each year from our conservative projections can then be directed to the capital improvement fund to fund city capital improvements citywide. So let's look at that capital improvement fund. As we just mentioned, any general fund surplus in excess of 80% shall be transferred out to the capital improvement fund. And the capital improvement projects proposed to be funded in 2020 include $5.7 million to the facilities fund. These are a variety of improvements and upgrades and safety improvements to city facilities, including playground construction, Innovation Hills, the museum equipment barn, the roof replacement at the museum dairy barn, and the clerk's office vault reconfiguration. There are also several parks and facilities related capital projects projected for 2021 and beyond, and these are going to be continually reviewed and planned for based upon the capital improvement fund's projected funding levels. There's a large emphasis in this 3-year budget and beyond to address and improve the condition of our city's parks and facilities. Previously, these are projects that would have been funded out of the general fund or from general fund balance. But now, with our general fund, with our new capital or our new fund balance policy, the general fund reserve level is predetermined. So now we can see the impact upon the capital improvement fund with no impact upon the general fund reserves. What this helps us to do is utilize our capital improvement fund to plan and to determine which capital projects to pursue going forward. Major roads now. We had some significant revenues from the state of Michigan and the LDFA in 2018 and 2019 to help build up our major road fund balance for use this year, which again is very good news as we have over $16 million in major road construction happening as we speak, including most notably the Auburn Road corridor and Livernois from Avon to north of Walton there. Some of the projects proposed for fiscal year 2020 include, for major roads, Harding Road, Austin Road, Auburn Road from Rochester Road to Culberson, John R. from Avon up to Bloomer, and some major road bridge repair work. As you can see, after fiscal year 2020, the major road fund balance is anticipated to grow as the capital of projects is scheduled in the foreseeable future in 2021 and beyond are anticipated to ease per our capital improvement plan. Due to this major road fund balance projection, it's proposed for 2020 to reinitiate an annual transfer out from the major road fund to the local street fund. Per the state's Act 51 legislation, a community may transfer up to 50% of its Act 51 revenues from the major road fund to the local street fund. In this budget, we're proposing to transfer 25% or half of that allowable amount from the major road fund to the local street fund. This funding source from major road fund to local street fund helps to reduce the annual amount needed from the general fund to support the local street activities. What this does is it allows those general fund monies to be redirected to the capital improvement fund to support citywide capital projects, including the parks and facilities projects recently mentioned. The thought process here was to utilize the city's restricted monies first, and then that provides a little more flexibility for its unrestricted monies. Long-term, the major road fund looks to be in excellent shape. Now on to some of the boring charts. Local streets are first. The decrease in the local street fund balance in 2019 is to set the local street fund balance at 25% of annual operations. And to accomplish this, the transfer in from general fund was reduced for fiscal year 2019. Moving forward, the transfer in from general fund will be in an amount that will maintain the local street fund balance at 25% of annual expenditures, and 20 to 25% is the fund balance target. So looking forward, this chart is not going to change much going forward. We're always going to maintain in the neighborhood of $2 to $2.5 million in the local street fund going forward. Capital projects proposed for 2020 for local streets include the $5 million local street rehabilitation program. Fire operating. The big note, the fire operating millage is proposed to be kept status quo at 2.7 mils throughout this forecast. And in 2019, the transfer out to fire capital fund is increased to set and reduce the fire operating fund balance to 25% of annual operating expenditures. Again, 20 to 25% is our target balance range. Then moving forward, the annual transfer from fire operating to fire capital will be set to maintain the fire operating fund balance at 25% of annual operating expenditures. So looking forward, here's another chart long-term that is not going to change very much. We'll keep $2.5 million in the fire operating fund at any good time. And keep in mind, we also budget conservatively in the fire funds as well as in the general fund. So we anticipate fire operating will actually be able to contribute more funds to the fire capital fund than is projected here. So let's look at the fire capital fund. The increase in fund balance in 2019 was from an increased transfer in from fire operating fund to set the fire operating fund balance at 25% of annual expenditures. And looking forward, even through 2030, the fire capital fund looks to be secured and able to replace all the equipment on a timely basis for the firefighters. We have a replacement of 2 fire engines proposed for fiscal year 2020. On to police. We are proposing to slightly reduce the police to millage from 2019 to 2022 to gradually set the police fund balance at that 25% of annual operating expenditures over the next 3 years, sorry. 10 to 25% is the target balance range for our special police fund. And then moving forward, the special police millage will be set each year to maintain the fund balance at 25% of annual operating expenditures. So here's another one. We're going to keep $2.5 million in special police fund each year moving forward. And long-term, this fund is not really going to change, or this chart isn't going to change that much. Well, that's a high-level overview of the city's most significant funds and capital projects proposed for 2020. And included in the fund projections I've just presented are the proposed full-time position requests in this 2020 budget. For fire, they are proposing to add the following personnel for 2020, including 8 full-time firefighter EMTs. This is proposed to be funded through a reduction in part-time firefighter salaries and wages to offset and remain essentially budget neutral. It's proposed to add 2 fire inspectors with the source of funding through fire inspection fees. Both of these items were presented to and recommended by the Public Safety and Infrastructure Technical Review Committee, and they are also presented to City Council back in July. Other citywide personnel proposed for 2020 includes the 1 administrative assistant in HR from part-time to full-time status, 1 building permit technician in the Building and Ordinance Division, and 1 mechanic 1 in the Fleet Fund, another part-time to full-time status request. As well, we have some part-time positions proposed, 1 election specialist, obviously in the Elections Division. We have 3 seasonal laborers in the Parks Division. This will be to cover the evening hours at Innovation Hills. And 4 seasonal laborers in the Parks Division, and their focus will be on citywide groundskeeping efforts. And finally, there are a variety of cost centers within the general fund, as well as within other funds within the city that fall under the umbrella of the mayor's office or fiscal. I'm not going to go into details on each of these cost centers or funds tonight unless you'd like to do so, as there's really little of significant change for the fiscal year 2020 proposed budget, with the exception of in the mayor's office professional services account. We do have funding included for the 2020 census promotion. And as well in the capital improvement fund, there's projects proposed to be funded, but I've already covered those. Okay, well with that, I have concluded my presentation portion of tonight's budget workshop. We have covered actually a lot of information so far this evening, and fortunately we have gone over the majority of the most significant dollar amounts and decisions proposed as part of the 2020 to 2022 budget plan. I've tried to cover these items from a financial or a budget perspective, and really in an effort to answer the basic question, can we afford this? And from many years of doing this, I feel confident that the projects and the service levels as proposed in this next 3-year budget plan are financially realistic. They will improve and enhance the quality of life for our residents and guests of the city. And most importantly to me, we will not hinder our city's financial future flexibility by reducing fund balances to unprudent levels. Our fund balances are actually more secure than ever before with the defined parameters from the fund balance policy as to how they should be managed and maintained. Well, in closing, I'd just like to acknowledge the amazing work of the people that I get to work with, and as a resident of Rochester Hills, we're truly lucky to have. I may be partial, but I believe a solid financial foundation is the basis for making and keeping a community prosperous. And our role here is the finance department, encompassing budget, accounting, purchasing, and treasury. In building and maintaining that solid financial foundation is to give you, the decision makers, the information that you need to make informed and educated decisions. I would like to thank the City Council for your support of the city's budget over the years, and I ask for your support of this most recent proposal. We live in a great city, a successful city, and a financially strong city. And I feel this budget presented before you continues to build upon the city's success by improving the quality of life for our residents while at the same time being conservative and proactive in planning for our city's financial future. We appreciate the City Council's direction at the very beginning of this budget process by establishing your 2020 goals and objectives. And with that direction in mind over the summer, the administration has crafted a 3-year budget plan which we feel is reflective of your goals and objectives. We look forward to the City Council's participation in this budget process and we look forward to your support of the 2020 proposed budget. Each of the directors will be presenting their respective budgets to you over the course of this evening, and they may be better able to answer the more specific sides of some of their proposed operating plans or proposed capital projects. But at this time, I'll stop here to give City Council an opportunity to ask any questions or make any comments on the large, high-level financial side of the projects or proposals I've reviewed thus far. So, thank you.
Council, anything? I would just, you brought up the fund balance policy a number of times, and I don't want to let it go unrecognized. We do appreciate very much former Councilman Tom Wiggins' initial work on that. And just again, special thanks to Vice President Merida and Mr. Deal on their formalizing the policy and then to Council for unanimously adopting it. So everyone had a little hand in that and pushed it along, and I think it's probably one of the best things that's been done at the city since I've been here for 8 years. I'm very, very proud of that fact. Mr. Mayor, anything you want to toss in at this time, or?
I think we have quite a few more presentations, and if there aren't any additional council questions, we get to the,
Okay.
look how excited they are out there.
They are excited.
Pretty pumped.
All right, so we have Ms. Taylor coming up next,
We
correct?
do.
Good evening, President Tisdale, Vice President Merida, City Council members, Mayor Barnett. I'm Lori Taylor, the Director of Assessing, and with me tonight is Deputy Director Karen Somerville. So, after 4 years of negative adjustments to taxable value, we've seen 7 years of positive increases. If you'll remember from last year, that we've estimated conservatively, thank you, the taxable value of an increase of 3% for budget years 2020. And I'm happy to report tonight that the actual increase was 4.78%. And in estimating the future increases in taxable value, we again estimate the increase for budget year 2021 at 3% and 2022 at 2.5%. And this is great news in that it helps support all the budgets that are funded by a millage. As you can see on the graph, the history of the assessed value, as indicated by the blue bars, that the assessed value peaked in 2006 at just below $4.2 billion and bottomed out during the recession at $3 billion. And I'm excited to report that the 2019 assessed value is $4.4 billion, and it keeps breaking records. The the taxable value, as indicated by the green bars, show that taxable value peaked in 2008 at just over $3.7 billion and also bottomed out during the recession at $3 billion. And the 2019 taxable value is over $3.6 billion. And we estimate that the taxable value could possibly surpass the 2008 peak next year. However, on an individual basis, in looking at the average taxable value for all real property, which includes all the commercial, the industrial, and the residential, the 2019 taxable value is down 3.5% as compared to the 2008 taxable value. 2008 taxable value average was $140,000. 2019 taxable value is $135,000.
Rochester Hills continues to experience a strong real estate market. As a result, our increases in assessed values continue to outpace the increases in taxable value, creating a gap between the two. For 2019, the average residential assessed value was at $151,000, while the average taxable sits at $120,000. That's a 26% difference. This is a great position to be in. Should the market flatten or take a downturn, we still have a cushion before it'll negatively impact the city's bottom line. Because of the strong real estate market, we've also seen a decrease in our number of Board of Review appeal appointments. We peaked in 2009 with 571 and dropped down to only 34 in 2019. That's a 94% decrease. We've also seen a decrease in the number of foreclosures, peaking in 2010 at 364 and dropping down to only 18 in 2018. That's a 95% decrease, and this year we've only seen 3.
Karen and I are proud to represent your assessing department. We are a 6-member team with 151 years of experience, and all of our members are certified by the state of Michigan. With that, we thank you and ask for your support, and we're here to answer any questions.
Well, I've said it before, and I'll point it out again, with, since the peak taxable value in 2008, all the building, all the renovation, all the road work, all of the accolades, awards, and regional, state, and nationwide attention that this city's gotten, and we're still not back up on a taxable value of what we were over a decade ago.
Correct.
And so it's just, I think it's an amazing testament to the leadership from the top down, the financial management of the city, and we're in an incredible position that just about every city in the state envies. And so thank you all for your work. And again, that taxable value in 2008 was spread across a smaller number of properties. So the burden was borne proportionally greater. And so when you talk about in real dollars what people are actually paying, not mills or those factors, but in real dollars that they're writing their checks out to, we're lower than what we were 11 years ago.
Agreed.
And that can't ever be overstated, and reminded our residents of that frequently enough. So great job from the administration, from Mayor Barnett and all the staff, and just thank you for your dedication over the near decade that I've been here, and I just want to express my appreciation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, anything else? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was just going to say one thing.
Oh, yes, Mr.
Even though you used the word however, the fact that we still have building going on in the city, there are new commercial buildings, new residential buildings happening in the city of Rochester Hills. I suspect next year the word however might not have to appear in your presentation.
Could.
Which is good news.
It could, because it's 3.5%. It's down 3.5%.
Yeah.
We saw 4.78% this year. That's why I'm saying taxable value could surpass the peak in 2008. And then, hopefully that chart will
Right.
see that the average taxable value across all real property may be equivalent or better than 2008.
And it's not, and President Tisdale's statement is equally important, that we continue to make progress even though we're constrained by what the state government allows us to do. And the fact that people want to live here is also a testament to how you're able to present things that tell us we're on a positive trend in terms of taxable value and assessed value in the city. So appreciate that insight and thank you for that.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Hetrick. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Captain Johnson. Or should I say Captain Safest City?
Good evening, Council, President Tisdale, Mayor Barnett. I'm Captain Mike Johnson. I've been your substation commander here in Rochester Hills for the last 11 years. I oversee the day-to-day activities of 50 deputies and 9 command officers, and together we provide law enforcement services to the city of Rochester Hills. I'm going to let Joe help me today with my multitasking, and he'll start off with a discussion with a look at the numbers.
Hey, you know, Lori Taylor had no problem going through
Simple.
that.
That was simple for her.
Okay. Well, we've seen this before just a few minutes ago. We are proposing to slightly reduce the police millage 2 from 2019 to 2022 to gradually set the police fund balance to the 25% annual expenditures, the fund balance target for police. And moving forward long-term, that police millage can be set each year to maintain the police fund balance at 25% of annual operations long-term.
We're currently in the first year of a 3-year police service contract with the city. We base much of our price forecasting on our labor contracts with the deputies and command officers. A 3-year labor contract with both unions was signed last fall, so these agreements have paved the way for our current 3-year contract with the city. As you can see, for 2018, our calls for service increased by about 1,000 over the 2017 counts. This really can be attributed to simple things that are going on in the city, building and growth, population growth. Next slide. Part A crimes are classified as more serious crimes against person. As you can see, we're down a little bit. That's always a 3-year trend. It's always welcome news. Our Part B crimes are classified as crimes against property and less serious crimes against persons. For 2018, these are again down slightly, still way down compared to 10 years ago. In 2006, with the support of City Council, we put a false alarm ordinance into effect, and it continues to assist us. Since its inception, we have reduced false alarms each year by at least 1,000. That ordinance continues to give us the ability to address repeat offenders and also frees your deputies to attend to more important matters. Alarm registration is simple as it can be. We can use the city's website, and businesses or homeowners can also re-register their alarms by phone at the substation. My command staff and I are always watching the bottom line on our overtime costs. For 2018, we were down slightly. We know that much of our overtime is incident-driven, so obviously the numbers can change quickly. 2018 was the 6th year that deputies had the option to use comp time instead in lieu of overtime, and it saved the city $26,700 in overtime costs. This next slide shows our staffing trends. Obviously, we did dip, just like many of the other departments in the city during the downtime, and we're back up to 60. We're obviously very pleased with the recent survey results. Pleased to learn that 97% of the residents feel very safe in their homes, 95% feel safe in their neighborhoods, and 96% feel very safe or safe in the city of Rochester Hills. The deputies that serve the city deserve the credit for these great results. Well, we have a new team member, and the good part is he's budget-friendly. His name is Deputy Taser. He's a comfort puppy. He's in training. He's currently assigned to, and will stay assigned to, our community liaison deputy, Mark Hickson. So far, he's been a very big hit with the public, and we think he's going to be very instrumental in helping out some of our folks that have been involved in traumatic situations. We're very pleased that obviously Rochester Hills has been recognized as the 6th safest city in the United States with a population over 50, the safest city in Michigan 3 years in a row, and now the safest small city in the United States. My team deserves great credit for this, but we also have continue to have a great partnership with the citizens in this city. Without their attention and willingness to help us, we would never be this successful. I'm confident in the command staff and the deputies. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office will continue to provide excellent police services to the city of Rochester Hills, and we have confidence in this budget, and I hope you'll support us. Ready for any questions you may have.
I think Mayor Barnett can attest to this, and I'm not exactly sure, but not only have we been named the safest city several times, but I think we have the lowest per capita cost of a city of 50,000 or more in the state as well. So it's great results and great value. So good work and thank you. Council, anything? Vice President Marita.
Thank you, President Tisdale. Just so Captain Johnson knows, I received a great compliment today from one of our residents about your department and the amount of response that they get at incidents, whether it's a false alarm at their house or maybe someone's fleeing and looting in our neighborhood, which has happened
Just last week.
just last week. But they're always remarking about how many officers show up, how many cars show up, that they take every single incident as seriously as the next or the one before, and are very, very protective of our residents. And this is unsolicited remark from a resident who called me today, so I'm just passing it along, so thank you. I'm sorry, Ms. Taylor, but they did not have the same things to say about assessing. That's a whole nother story, but if they only knew how much work you put into it, right? So thank you, Captain Johnson, for everything that you do and for your staff.
Thank you.
Council, anything else? Very good. Thank you, Captain.
Thank
Chief
you.
Canto.
President Tisdale, I don't know if Chief will mention this, but many of these men were out last night fighting a significant fire in the city's south side, and did a great job. No one was injured. I think there were several units that were damaged, but out on the scene and typical great work. I don't know if they were doing it for the budget, but the timing is a little bit suspicious, but they're all here today, so good to see everyone.
Chief.
Well, I'm going to multitask.
There you go.
There we go. So good evening, President Tisdale, Vice President Marita, Council, Mayor Barnett. Tonight, myself, my chief staff, and command staff are here to deliver our budget. Representatives of public safety agencies are held in high esteem as they are entrusted by society to react instantly, unselfishly, and compassionately. Society expects these individuals to be guided by certain principles to ensure their excellence. Our department bases our decisions on three ideals and in the following order: what is best for the community, what is best for the department, and what is best for the member. 2019 accomplishments. After hard work, the Rochester Hills Fire Department strategic plan was adopted by City Council. We thank City Council for their vision and assistance in making the Rochester Hills Fire Department the best fire department in Oakland County. This plan aligns the changing needs of our community, our goals, tactics, and strategies with purpose-driven, performance-oriented, and principle-led approaches. This document is now our driving force, and several of the items you will see here this evening come directly from the strategic plan. So after several years of created budgeting and the new fund balance policy, the fire capital is funded for the foreseeable future. And unfortunately, Buzz Lightyear was has more of a better take on the budget, but we have spent a lot of money with our stations and apparatus and equipment, and we are in a very good position. I remember that at one of the meetings several years ago, we were concerned that the capital budget would go out in 2021, and now we're looking at it going through 2030 and beyond. This means that the fire capital is in better position, possibly that it's currently projected to be, depending on how our revenue comes in. 2018, again, we responded to an all-time high of 7,183 incidents, which is about one incident every 1 hour and 13 minutes. As Mayor Barnett was alluding to our incident last night, the structure fire. During that, we had 5 other incidents going on within the city during the same time as the structure fire. Our average response time to priority incidents for 2019 is 5 minutes and 24 seconds. This year, we are on track to hit about 7,400 incidents within our run volume. So, as I just said, our incident volume continues to grow, and our candidate pool is starting to become sparse. We're looking to diversify the department and bring membership into the organization. This is one of the things we identified as goal number 6 in our strategic plan as well. Additional goals for 2020, Mr. Snyder already spoke about this, would be the hiring of 8 additional suppression personnel without any change in the millage rate. This was also identified in our strategic plan as Goal 1B, which we worked and developed a staffing needs analysis which anticipated the operational workload of the department. Our department continues to evaluate our overall workload, and in thinking innovatively, the department has made adjustments to other areas within our budget, which has allowed hiring additional personnel without any increase to the millage. Additionally, our Fire Community Risk Reduction Division in the Fire Department is at a point where they need an infusion of full-time staff. We're working with Mr. Starin as well as the Fiscal Department to look at providing 2 additional positions without the increase to millage. These positions would be funded by modest fees that would go along with fire inspections that would help fund that division. A couple other items real quick is that we were looking at replacing 2 of our engines, and one of the things that's really important in our organization is training, and we're budgeting to install a propane training simulator within our training tower. Probably one of the most important items that actually continues to be the goal within the organization is our continue to address health, fitness, and wellness of personnel. Firefighting is a very physical and mentally demanding profession. And as we learned about the threats posed along with this profession, the increased risks of developing cancer, as well as post-traumatic stress disorder, firefighter health and wellness will remain a top priority of the Rochester Hills Fire Department. This was also another item, goal number 9, which was creating a health and wellness culture within the Rochester Hills Fire Department. Finally, as the community grows, so does the type and number of incidents we encounter. It's necessary for our training division to take a comprehensive look at what the department needs and to how we respond and be prepared. We strive to improve all levels of service to the community, as well as the customers, both internal and external. And then these services are measured against nationally accepted standards. The 3 areas identified in this slide were also identified in our strategic plan, goals 5C, 5D, and goal 7. We want to make sure that we continue to assure our department is committed to provide the highest level of service to the community. So why we do what we do? To improve our residents' quality of life. Now, I know this evening you'll see many budget presentations, and I thought I would maybe take a little bit of pressure off the city council as well as the mayor and seeing this budget presentation, so we have a celebrity approval of the fire department presentation. Mr. Norris said this is the best presentation he's ever seen in years, and it's a total home run. So if you have any questions, he certainly has reviewed our budget presentation as well.
I guess we're all done then.
So I'd like to thank City Council for their support of the fire department. Without your support, the fire department and the outstanding dedicated members of the department, we would not be where we are today. Despite additional projected incident volume and workload, we've been able to innovatively reorganize our department to provide additional resources without increasing current fire millage. Again, I would like to recognize all members of the department because they are the ones on the street taking care of the residents and visitors in case of an emergency. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Cannon. We do have one comment, public comment on this evening. Mr. Lee Zendel.
Yes, good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Fire Department. Love you all. In the Mayor's budget letter, in the front of the budget document, he writes the need for the 2 additional fire inspectors to inspect all buildings in Rochester Hills. Now, is that, which obviously must include homes, and if anybody's got a shed, even the shed, shouldn't that read non-residential buildings? And I consider it important to make that change because the mayor is the recipient of council way back when not spelling things out correctly, and I'm speaking of the election process where a mayor goes 2 years on the ballot and then 1 year write-in. The intent at that time, and I know that because I was one of the two people who put it forward, was that this would be a cycle. And that was left out. And thus we have the problem now, that is the mayor does, of all these write-ins forevermore. That's why I would like it spelled out very carefully that the fire inspection people are for non-residential buildings. Can we get that on the record, please? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Chief, you want to address that?
Well, I'm going to actually let Assistant Chief Cook, who is the head of our Community Risk Reduction Division, and he'll actually be able to explain. There's actually some laws that are in place at the state level which allow us, that gives us the authority. So, Chief Cook.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Public Act 207 is the state law that allows us and gives us the authority to inspect occupancies within our jurisdiction. Now, when we talk about occupancies, it's very specific. It's commercial occupancies. It does not allow us to inspect single one family or two family dwellings. So we have no authority to do so. Our authority is for commercial properties only, and that's our intent, is to inspect our commercial businesses.
Right. I think earlier you referred to them as inspectable properties, and just
Correct.
maybe we just need to add some additional detail or specificity to that language so that the people have a better understanding or expectation of what's going to happen as we add these new inspectors.
I think probably one of the things we look to do is just define it as properties that are under the state statute. That would probably be the best way to identify it.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Council, any comments or questions? I know in the Public Safety and Infrastructure Technical Review Committee, Chief Canto gave, I would say it was close to a 2.5-hour presentation. We suggested he cut it down a little bit for council. But just appreciating, again, looking out, projecting the data, and if the data plays out as projected, we can expect our needs to grow to a specified level, and there's going to be personnel and capital equipment needs to address that. So it's proactive as opposed to reactive. Nothing in there says that this is going to play out as projected, but if it does, we have the strategic plan and the pathway to walk down and to keep the response times and the safety of the city where it is. So thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
President Tisdale?
Yes.
I think I'm buzzed in there. Just I won't tend to make comments, except I don't know how long all these gentlemen will be here. I think you made almost the exact comment I was going to make. I hope council and more importantly the residents understand how proactive our fire department is. There are so many departments that I'm familiar with in this region that are stuck in 1988 trying to figure out how to fight fires and respond to medical emergencies in 2019. And this team here, this leadership team that you see, is continuing to stay ahead of the game, and many folks are coming to our team to find out how to get where we were even 5 or 7 years ago. So, the fire rating, the ISO rating went up this year. They've been recognized a lot. Just want to make sure before some of them may take off that we appreciate the leadership position you've taken regionally, making sure our fire department is proactive. A lot of big changes in this budget for the fire department with almost no budget impact, which is pretty exceptional.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Ms. Roediger.
Hello and good evening, President Tisdale, Council, Mayor Barnett. Happy to be with you live this evening as opposed to last week. I'm joined this evening with Pamela Valentic, our Economic Development Manager, along with Senta Glaswald, our Economic Development Specialist. As I'm sure you are aware, it's been another busy year for the Planning Economic Development Department. And I'm sure by now you've gathered that our tagline, all we can do, it can be summarized by 3 words: preserve, enhance, and diversify. Every day we work to preserve and enhance the city's high quality of life by diversifying options in housing, employment, and goods and services available in our great community. Now, we kicked off this year by adopting our master plan, but what you may not know is that we were just notified recently that we have received the State's Planning Association's Award for Excellence for Public Outreach as part of that plan. So we'll be accepting that award later in September because of our extensive public outreach effort as part of that plan. And we wasted no effort to implement some of the recommendations of that plan by working with ordinance updates to have more strict tree preservation, to develop some new zoning districts, and to do a zoning audit to ensure that our zoning ordinance and regulations reflect current laws and trends. Now, because of Rochester Hills' reputation as a great place to live with high quality of life, amazing schools, and low crime rates, people want to be here. And as such, in 2018, we processed 22 new site plans, resulting in over 450 new residential units and almost 75,000 square feet of non-residential space. We continue to work with other city departments, property owners, applicants, and neighbors. And notable projects in 2019 include the Trio mixed-use PUD, which came before you last week, along with new neighborhoods such as Brewster Village and Cumberland Village, which are bringing more housing options throughout the city.
So as you know, here we go. So as you know, economic development has been very busy the last year as well. If you recall, Mayor Barnett and I traveled to Germany and France just last fall, and that trip was really about developing relationships with the ownership of the companies that we have in town. And I can say that in 6 months, we've already seen a positive return on that investment. Coastal Contact announced that they did close and purchase the vacant land that's over there on M59 in Old Adams, and they plan to spend $58 million to create a new headquarters and a new manufacturing facility. Aduxi, which is a French company, they moved into a larger building, and we also celebrated the grand opening of the French Corner, the first of its kind in Michigan, as what it's been told to me by Business France. This is an incubator specifically set up for French companies that are looking to enter the U.S. market. Already they have 6 companies committed to this space, and by year-end there'll be up to 10 French companies operating here in Rochester Hills. We also welcomed a new economic development specialist here with us. Senta Glaswald is an economic developer that comes to us actually from Germany, and she is a Rochester Hills resident, and she's here to formally introduce herself and tell you a little bit about herself. So, Senta.
Guten Abend, City Council, Bürgermeister Barnett. Ich freue mich ganz herzlich, heute Abend hier zu sein und vor Ihnen sprechen zu dürfen. Für mich ist
Well,
das
this is
eine
not going over
Riesenehre.
well.
I figured. So what I basically said is that I'm very honored to speak in front of City Council tonight, and that I'm also very grateful to work for such a beautiful city that I love living and working in. And I am grateful to work in such a great team, and I really hope that I can make an impact and that I can attract even more, especially international businesses, to Rochester Hills, and yeah, to help make this community even more international. And yeah, I also wanted to tell you that my biggest achievement so far, I think, is that Pam Valentik is like almost a native German speaker by now.
Right. Yes. Das war sehr gut. Vielen Dank, Senta.
I told you.
So obviously with us growing our team, Senta and I are going to be working very hard to update our economic development strategy and our marketing plan moving forward. We always want to be on the top of our game in recognizing the needs and the opportunities that we have before us here in Rochester Hills, and the businesses that we have in town, the employees that they bring into our community, and the customers that they serve. We also continue to lead the discussion with hosting numerous Mayor's Business Council and RISE events. always bringing topics that are of relevance to our businesses as they move into the future. And this past year, we've actually had some phenomenal speakers, from Senator Peters to mayors to senior economists, media editors most recently, and also just last week we celebrated the coolest workplaces in Rochester Hills with a number of companies, and many of you were able to join us at that event. So as you know, Auburn Road is in full swing, but here in planning and economic development, it's our role to make sure that we always keep in mind why we are doing this project. And the things that motivate us is to recognize that we're trying to enhance the neighborhood. We are trying to create a sense of place, and we're trying to create a thriving commercial district down in that area. So we are offering many business resources to those businesses that are down there to help them through this difficult time, whether it's marketing presentations, free business counseling tied in with Oakland County's Small Business Center, and then also connecting them with the chamber and making sure that they're taking advantage of all the programs that our local Chamber of Commerce can offer to them. We're also brainstorming on ideas of how we can attract new businesses to the area, and Senta's been a big help for us in coming up with some really cool ideas, so look for that in the next year.
And obviously, from a physical standpoint, as you know, we are finalizing the design of a plaza and the gateway elements, and thank you again for the support last week for the Phase 3 elements for that exciting project. Now, looking forward to 2020, we expect to continue our planning and implementation efforts, focusing, of course, on preserving, enhancing, and diversifying opportunities throughout the city in a cohesive approach, from how we review site plans to how we promote and market the city to potential businesses and residents. Consistent with the City Council goal to ensure that city facilities are aesthetically pleasing, we are proposing to update the city's Gateways Plan, which was last updated almost 20 years ago now, that will include a consistent vision for the entrances into the community, as well as potentially the roundabouts and other city properties such as the Eddington Boulevard area, so we have a consistent branding of how we go about making these place-making elements throughout the city. So with that, we thank you for your support, and we look forward to our continued successful relationships in the coming year in working to support and promote quality development throughout the community to ensure that Rochester Hills continues to be one of the preeminent places to live, work, and raise your family for many years to come, with another future resident coming here in September. So we don't have puppies, we bring babies.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Thank you. Council, anything? Mr. Hetrick.
Thank you, President Tisdale. Actually, two things for me. One, just a clarification for Brownfield. The amounts that are in the Brownfield plan represent the abatement or tax abatement for legacy, correct?
Correct. If you remember, we closed out the Madison
Yes.
Park Brownfield earlier this year, and I believe we received the first tax bill came in from Legacy this summer, and we've started that Brownfield capture and started that Brownfield for Legacy.
Okay, good. And Ms. Valentic, if you could say thriving commercial marketplace in German, I'd really appreciate that.
We.
Einen schönen Abend noch.
No.
That means have a good evening.
Oh, same thing, same thing.
In other words.
No, it doesn't. It does not.
Does it? It
Yeah.
does.
Okay.
Es ist wirklich schön hier, oder? It's beautiful out here, isn't it?
It is.
That's a good second place.
That's what you've started.
Thank
Bill.
you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Ms. Barton.
Good evening, President Tisdale, Vice President Marita, Council, and Mayor Barnett. It's always an honor to be before you since I'm usually sitting with you, so thank you for your time this evening. As you know, I'm missing my right hand, so I'm going to give this a shot myself. The Clerk's Department continues to have a really fantastic story with passports. We continue to draw people from literally all over the area, even outside of our county, to come here and do passports because of the fantastic customer service that they receive here at the city. as well as the fact that we have multiple businesses here in the area that are specifically directing their employees to our department to get their passports processed because of the confidence they have and with our accuracy and again with the customer service that they receive, as well as including our Secretary of State that's local here. They are directing anyone who comes through their doors looking for passports here to our office. So we've gained quite a reputation in the region that I'm really proud of that. Elections, we've had a really busy year and are about ready to encroach on an even busier year, but we're really proud that in the last several months we were the first community in the state of Michigan to pilot a risk limiting audit. Multiple communities have followed, but we were the first, and I'm really proud of that, and we received a perfect passing score on the audit that we did. We worked in conjunction and collaboration with like MIT, with Brennan Center for Justice, University of California, Berkeley. So a lot of notable people were working on this project with us. We also collaborated with multiple clerks in the area, and we were the ones who put this all together to put student voter registration drives in each of our high schools. And normally in the past we would only see about 10 to 20 students from each school would register. With the collaborative efforts that we had and the cooperation from administration with those 3 high schools, we were able to register almost 500 high school students just in the month of May. So that was very exciting. We also worked in collaboration with our MIS department here at City Hall, and we had a problem and we worked together to find a solution, and we created an Election Day troubleshooting portal. We submitted that to the Election Assistance Commission, which is a national office, and we received a Cleary Award for that. So we are very proud of that. Most of the time, only counties or secretaries of state receive that award, and we received it for best practices in election administration. So it's an honor to see what we can do when departments work together and we can create innovative projects. I expect extra points for that. The cemetery investments, we were before you last year and had asked for funds, and you agreed for us to build a pole barn for our cemetery. Our equipment had been stored outside for many years and was deteriorating quickly because we had no place to put it. You can see we have a beautiful pole barn out there now. We were also before you just a matter of 3 years ago and asked for funds to put a columbarium out at our cemetery. We wanted to diversify the options that we had for our residents for burials. And I am proud to say in less than 3 years' time, we have sold enough of the niches there that the columbarium is completely paid for. And so at this point on, any funds we would be using to purchase another columbarium in the future to put out at the cemetery. Many of our staff members are being sought after on a national, statewide, and county level for their expertise. You can see Deputy Clerk Leanne Scott. She is the past president of the OCCA board right now. She's also been tapped by the Secretary of State and the Bureau of Election to serve on multiple committees to help with the implementation of Proposal 3 that we passed this last year. The Secretary of State also asked me to join her Election Security Advisory Committee that she created. We were the only local clerk's office that was asked to do that, and so that's an honor for us. And we've also been speaking nationally in regards to election security, and proud that we're being recognized for that. You can see on here Christine Wisburn has also become a national speaker and being recognized for her expertise as being a notary. And in the particular picture I'm showing you here, she was speaking at a conference in Maryland, and the young lady joining her there is Miss Paula Tutman's mother, who was a notary in the state of Maryland and happened to be sitting in on Christine's class, so that was kind of fun for her. Our youth council continues to stay actively engaged in many activities. Basically every city activity that we have, the youth council takes part in that, as well as sits up there with you each and every meeting. So we're proud of all that they're doing. As you can see with the cultural diversity dinner that they had was a great success, and I believe I saw most, if not all of you there, and that was the first time we've done that, and I know that we're going to be doing that again. You can see also we have a picture here of Danielle along with Mayor Barnett and Hannah. They attended the first ever U.S. Conference of Mayors National Youth Summit, and we already have an established youth council, and proud that they could go and tell the nation exactly how we do it here in Rochester Hills and how it's been so successful, and they continue to be actively engaged in everything we do. So that tonight is presenting to you the highlights of what we're doing in the clerk's office. I want to thank you for your continued support, whether it's speaking to a packed out room full of Girl Scouts and dancing with me at the end, or whether it's approving our budget. I want to thank you for all that you do for us and your continued support throughout the year, not just during the budget process. So thank you very much.
I just want to thank you. This is kind of a brief promotional comment on the cemetery. It's one of the best kept secrets and values in the area. You've done a great job in administering the cemetery and its services out there. And for anyone, you know, there are now multiple options and affordable options for memorializing your loved ones, and I hope it doesn't continue to be overlooked by our residents. Council, anything for Ms. Barton? All right. Well, thank you very much. Ms. Gordon.
Good evening, Council, President Hooper, Mayor Barnett. Oh, my God.
Okay, you know.
President Tisdale.
Listen, I've been called worse. So I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you.
This must have been a throwback to a few years ago.
Yeah. You got the wrong script.
So I'm here tonight with staffing analyst Leslie Corrington Turnbull. Obviously, I'm not going to multitask tonight.
No.
I'm going to let Leslie assist me. And then pictured, you see our team. And soon we're going to be joined by a new management analyst who's going to provide additional backup and support for strategic HR operations. So just as Rochester Hills is the preeminent community in which to live, work, and raise a family, it's our vision to be the preeminent municipality in which to work. And from firefighters to crossing guards, our employees function kind of like everyday superheroes in service to the community. I think a fourth grader at Brewster Elementary who took this photo says it best. When they say not all superheroes wear capes, they're right. This one wears a vest and holds a stop sign. So our above-market compensation policy has enabled us to compete with other communities for highly qualified employees, like the building inspectors we recently hired away from both Orion Township and Auburn Hills. And as of June, our applicant pool is up by 56%, with 10 new hires as of June, which equals last year's total. We're also making strides towards a workforce that is more reflective of the changing demographics of this community, with contributions from interns and grant-funded fellows, providing input on attracting the next generation. And this year, we implemented a standardized performance review process, and all of our job descriptions have been updated to reflect current job functions and performance expectations. We're also supporting the safety and well-being of our superheroes. We're pleased to say that preventive services such as cancer screenings and well care visits increased by over 12% in 2018. And this is fueled by increased participation in our wellness program. Also, worksite training and security assessments have resulted in some of the modifications that you're going to see proposed in the facilities budget. We've maintained our ahead-of-market pay philosophy and successfully negotiated contracts with all 4 of our unions through the end of 2021. We're aligning compensation and benefit costs with the current budget cycle. And prior to the next round of negotiations, we'll be reviewing compensation equity from both internal and labor market perspectives. But none of this would be possible without an atmosphere of respect and cooperation that we enjoy between the city's unions and management, which is evidenced by minimal grievances in recent years. So, in order to be the preeminent place to work, we will need to continue to attract and develop our everyday superheroes. The budget presented continues to leverage technology in recruitment, training, and performance management. By doing so, HR can be more efficient in meeting the needs of those who give their best every day in service to this community. And we thank you for your support, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Thank you.
Even President Hooper.
That's right. Dr. Boyer.
Thank you, President Tisdale. Well, thank you for a great presentation. It's really good to see that that compensation study looks like that has started to bring all of our employees in line with the current salary structure of our competitive areas. We're only a few years into getting the salary steps to align. Are we close now to being competitive, or do we still have a little bit further to go before we're really?
I think we're very competitive
Good now.
as we are, but our philosophy was to be like the 55th percentile of the market. And we're almost there. We've got a couple points to go.
Yeah, another year maybe.
Yeah.
Great,
another
thank
couple
you.
years.
That was all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Mr. Hetrick.
Really just a follow-up on what Dr. Boyer had already brought up, and that is the compensation study. It's clear, at least based on your presentation, Ms. Gordon, that our investment in that compensation study is paying off.
Yes, I believe it is.
In terms of retaining employees and attracting them, as well as putting us in a position to do the right thing by employees and still maintain, to use Mr. Snyder's statements, a structural surplus.
Yes.
And those are all really good, those are all really important elements of what we do. I was going to make one other point, and I've completely forgotten it, so for now, I will just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council, anything else? All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Krajewski.
Thank you.
Good evening, President Tisdale, council members, Mayor Burnett. I'm Captain Krajewski, the Information Systems Director, and with me tonight is Rochelle Lyon, our new Deputy Information Systems Director. We're here tonight to talk about cybersecurity and how it relates to our proposed budget this year. Imagine you're relaxing at home and you hear a knock at your door. You look out the window and there's a van in your driveway that says Publishers Clearinghouse on it. Outside your door are a few people with flowers and balloons and a big check. Well, you like money, and you start to get excited, and they look innocent enough, so you open the door and you let them in. Things are not always as they appear. Once inside your home, they put padlocks on everything that you own. There's no chance of picking the lock or cutting it off, and they demand a ransom of $500,000. Your choice is to pay the ransom or lose access to your stuff forever. This is how ransomware works. They prey on your insecurities, our gullibility, our desire to help, or just catch us off guard when we're busy. Then bam, we've got a big problem on our hands. This is a real world scenario. It's happening in cities large and small all across the United States, costing them millions of dollars. I'm sure you've seen in the news stories about Atlanta, Colorado, Baltimore, and even Lansing and Genesee County here in Michigan locally. And most recently, just this weekend, 23 cities fell victim to a coordinated attack in Texas. Cities, businesses, hospitals, schools, all suffering data loss and downtime at the hands of criminals, many of whom are operating from outside of the United States. We are constantly working to prevent a cyber attack or to be in the best possible position to minimize the effects and damages when it happens. The FBI says the question isn't if we will be a victim of a ransomware attack, it is when. What's important to us is how prepared we are to respond. Being proactive versus reactive gives us the best possible advantage in this fight. We began working on this security puzzle years ago, adding pieces, new tools, educating, evaluating, and then doing it all over again when the next new method of attack materializes. This is our reality every day. We have a great team in place of defenders with several new team members this year. Myself, Rochelle, Margaret, Bill, and Linda, and our newest team members, Sushil, Kyle, and Sarah, are always on point defending our information assets every day. We understand the challenges and we appreciate the trust that you've shown in us over the years, and we ask for your support in approval of the budget. Thank you very much. We'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Krajewski.
Yes.
We were just wondering why the mayor was in there, and Mr. Gio was kind enough to point out that he's apparently the bad guy in that photo. So.
But
Actually,
at least I'm tall. I'll take it.
Actually, I haven't seen the Avengers movies, so I don't know who any of those characters are.
All right.
But we thought he deserved a place at the head of our team.
Council, anything? Yes, thank you very much for your efforts.
Thank you.
At this time, we're scheduled to take a little break. We've got some refreshments back in the Clerk's Department conference room. Council and everyone here, please join us back in the conference room. We'll come back at 7:30. Okay, let's call this meeting back to order. Thank you, everyone, for returning in a timely manner. Mr. Elwart.
Good evening, President Tisdall, Council, and Mayor Barnett. I'm here tonight to support the fiscal budget request for parks and natural resources. So let's do it in a unique way, with no graphs, numbers, or words on the screen. They say pictures are worth 1,000 words, so I'm here to give you 35,000 words in 6 minutes. Starting with the museum at Van Heusen Farm, welcome to our new exhibits, focusing on the regionally significant story of the strong women in their leadership in farming and the medical field nationwide. In pursuit of final fundraising, we are excited to move ahead with the raising of the new equipment barn in 2020. The museum is also strongly community-based, supported by many community leaders at our exhibit grand opening, including the Chamber of Commerce, and very strong support from our City Council and Foundation board members. The museum does many functions, whether it is the thousands of hours of volunteer coordination in preserving our 150,000 historical artifacts, hosting the many weddings and family gatherings throughout the year, or bringing the community together for the Stonewall Pumpkin Festival, and hosting special events such as the annual Rochester Community Schools Art Show. Nearly 4,000 guests viewed the artwork of the talented students from 13 elementary schools, 4 middle schools, and 3 high schools. Speaking of community connections, our forestry unit in natural resources reaches out yearly, shown here with Cub Scouts planting a tree for Arbor Day. We also distribute seedlings, visiting 7 schools and talking to 500 third graders about the importance of trees. However, the bulk of our time in forestry is spent outdoors to support 20,000 trees across the city road right-of-ways, and forestry is at it day in and day out, whether clearing and trimming, performing corner clearances to make our streets safer, or planting trees throughout all the community. Our next outdoor crew stands in our Parks Division. The grounds crew is ready to serve. Working our landscaping citywide on roundabouts and city properties. Plus, keeping our fields seeded, fertilized, lined, and mowed, our grounds crew is busy beautifying the city. Our whole parks team is daily building a better park system, fixing playgrounds, cleaning up vegetation, and even installing a mile of fencing every year for the Festival of the Hills. Did someone say Festival of the Hills?
Yes.
The city's largest event at Borden Park. It's all hands on deck for the biggest event of the year with 40,000 visitors. It takes the help of all, the mayor's office, DPS, facilities, fire and police, as well as just about every P&R employee that isn't working somewhere else that day. Whether you enjoy 40,000 visitors at the festival or a little family one-on-one, we have a park memory for you. Expanding your teamwork and competitive spirit, developing your soccer skills, running one of 11 cross-country and 5K events at Bloomer Park, exercising outdoors at the newly installed activity station at Bloomer Park. More memories are coming as we look forward to our newest developing park, proceeding at a steady pace. Construction of the observation mound and pathway curbing shown here. Glow is being installed. The construction crews do what it takes with a bit of trust as the worker's belt is held to get that far end of the glow spot. Don't look too close. Trees and rocks and bridges are all going in. It is coming together. Meanwhile, our park system still hums along. With traffic counters now installed at most locations, we can confidently say that the system provides for over 1 million visits annually. Moments of tranquility do happen, as shown at Spencer Park, before the crowds arrive. But for those really looking for tranquility, Come for a little calming effect of our green spaces, with monthly walks led by citizens from our Green Space Committee. You never know who will show up. Our outdoor engagement programs are full and have a 4.8 out of 5 customer satisfaction. Here, our naturalist is teaching about how owls can't see so great at night, so your hearing becomes important. The inset shows finding deer antlers in the woods during our antler amble. Outdoor engagement staff put on our first 3-day adventure camp at Bloomer, where they learned to build a fire, shelter, birdhouses, learn to fish in the river, and so much more. Some of the campers caught their first fish with just another day at camp without electronics. Activities occur year-round, guided here by our part-time interpreter, a night around the campfire. Again, you just never know who is going to show up. We appreciate past City Council support for building connections across the community. We are excited to be part of an organization that truly lives and breathes its innovation by nature, and we are asking for your support to continue our mission. Are there any questions?
Council, anything?
Thank you for multitasking, Mr. Albert.
Yeah, very good. All right, thank you very much. Mr. Cope?
Good evening, President Tisdale.
Yes, indeed.
We're here to present the Building Department budget to you this evening, and at the table with me is Tim Hollis, our Deputy Director, Bob White, our Ordinance Services Manager, and Gary Knotts, our Facilities Manager. And Tim is going to start it off with the Building Division.
Good evening, President Tisdale, City Council, and Mayor Barnett. The Building Division continues to partner with our customers to ensure safety in all buildings, and this year some of the examples of our partnership were when in May we had our Building Safety Month. We partnered with the OPC, had a building safety booth there, handed out building safety information. We also partnered with the Home Depot during one of their kids' workshop days on Saturday, provided both the adults and the kids with building safety information. We also offered free deck inspections to our residents of existing wood construction decks to see if they had any deficiencies that they might need to address. And we also continue to offer meetings to our residents and homeowners at our building department counter to help them with their projects. Quality homes are continue to be built all around the city. Builders such as Bella and Artiva, Cranbrook, and others continue to build these high-quality homes, and because of that, you can see that construction costs, average construction costs are on the increase. This slide shows that the number of total permits issued is also on the increase, looking from 2010 to 2019, trending upward. And in addition, total construction value of all projects combined, residential and commercial, is also trending upward from 2010 to the present. Our dedicated staff continue to provide quality customer service to our residents and contractors. And because of these other upward trends, you'll notice we are also seeing upward trends in the workload. Areas like phone calls, counter trips, and inspections all are trending upward. This map gives an overview of projects that are going to be completed in 2019 or will soon be underway. In Rochester Hills, we're seeing both residential and commercial projects going on all around the city and continuing. And we are in these buildings and buildings like these every single day, inspecting to make sure that they are being built safely for our residents and guests. So whether it be a place of work, workout, or worship, place of auto care, child care, or health care, a place of learning, leisure, or living, Rochester Hills can continue to be the preeminent place to live, work, and raise a family. And now I'll ask Bob White to share the ordinance report.
Thank you, Tim.
Good evening, President Tisdale, Vice President Morita, Council, Mayor, Ms. Hoyle. The ordinance compliance team continues to work hard to make sure that the statement on your screen there continues to be true. Each day, inspectors do proactive patrol and investigate complaints dealing with issues of blight and weeds and junk cars and commercial vehicles and commercial sites and so forth, and other zoning issues. We issue permits for permanent and temporary signs, and we spend a lot of time taking down signs that are illegally placed in the road right-of-way. We work on keeping our walkers and bikers safe on our pathways by encouraging the property owners to keep their side of the pathway trimmed and groomed. We issue special event permits, and lately, thankfully, we've been issuing a lot of commercial parking lot permits as the businesses find the money now to take care of those parking lots. The Homeowner Association Forum continues to be a popular event. We held that 2 times a year. Appreciate the many times I've seen council members joining us at that event. It's a great opportunity for you to interact with the leaders of the homeowner associations that represent dozens of subdivisions in your districts. And it's an opportunity to interact without having to put 14,000 steps on your Walkman there, Mr. Hetrick, as you go door to door. Finally, our inspectors, oh, and by the way, you're invited. October 8th is our fall forum. It's going to be held right here in your favorite room in City Hall, starting at 6:30. Finally, our inspectors are involved in all aspects of the solid waste program, whether it be a representative on the committee for the NOHAS with Oakland County, or working with the Oakland County Sheriff Department Weighmaster to license and inspect every single waste hauler vehicle that comes into our city. We're offering services to over 20,000 homes, taking care of their trash, recycling, and their yard waste and other services. The ordinance staff continues to work to keep Rochester Hills a clean and safe city to live in. This time I'll turn it over to Gary Knotts, who will give a report on the facilities.
Good evening, President Tisdale, City Council, Mayor Barnett. Facilities is focused on the council's objective to continue to review existing city facilities to ensure they are well maintained so our residents and city employees feel value. Facility staff is working hard, whether it's painting a floor, unlocking a door, setting up tables, running cables, repairing a lock, putting down caulk, replacing a light, locking up for the night, helping set up for elections, building inspections, painting a wall. Who do you call? Facilities.
Never look to Mr. White for this kind of direction.
These are some of the Facilities Division projects for 2020, 2021, and 2022. Facilities operates at the highest professional level to ensure all city properties are well maintained and to be careful stewards of the city's resources.
City Council, this is a pretty special evening for me this evening. This marks the 20th time that I have been here presenting a budget to City Council. So I want to thank you for the opportunity and thank the Mayor for the opportunity to be here this evening. It's been a pleasure working with each of you throughout the year, and I know that you've had the opportunity to work with these gentlemen at the table here many times with your questions and concerns, and we really appreciate your support and understanding in all that we do here. We could not do it without you. I know one of the other things that we are very appreciative of, and thank you for your support, is the work you do behind that dais there. We talked a little bit earlier, I heard you talking about the wage and class study, and I'm here to share with you an example of the decisions you make back there and the impact they can have on our department. We lost 2 people who retired, 2 inspectors. When they retired, I got to tell you, I was really nervous. Being a leader of the department, you want to have good people that you can trust, that know what they're doing. And if you talk to Pam Gordon, her and I have worked through the years struggling to hire building inspectors when we've been short. And the approval of the wage and class study made a big difference because we were able to put that position out there, and we hired 2 qualified people, and they're helping us now, and I'm confident that they're going to grow into some very well-respected employees with the city. And I want to thank you for that, and thank you for your support through the years, and we look forward to your support of this budget this evening.
Okay, thank you, and I think I can speak on behalf of everyone. Appreciate the responsiveness out of your office and your department, and you know, it's often kind of the front line when we get calls of concerns, and just appreciative of the quick turnaround and the positive feedback we get. So thank you. Council, anything else? All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Mr. Schneck.
I'm going to try to multitask, and I guess I'm probably feeling a little pressure. I'm probably getting like 12 texts, like, you know.
Does the multitasking involve a truck?
No. There is a piece of equipment outside for everybody to try out after the budget meeting. Well, good evening, Council President, Mr. Mayor, and City Council. I'm Alan Schneck. I'm the Director of the Department of Public Services. And joining me this evening is Mr. Paul Davis, Deputy Director and City Engineer. Others who are in attendance are Tracy Ballant, our Public Utilities Engineering Manager, Jeff Fox, our Roads and Pathways Operations Manager. People not in attendance but who I'd like to recognize are Bruce Halliday, our Fleet Manager, Leon Luderman, our Water and Sewer Operations Manager, Paul Schmako, our Transportation Engineering Manager, and Lori Hamilton, our Administrative Services Supervisor. Budgeting may not be glamorous, but it is the keystone that allows the Department of Public Services to act on their mission of providing optimal citizen services and the seamless delivery of capital projects. Our notable and meaningful work delivers a sustainable and high quality of life. Your support of the budget allows us to provide these essential services. As you may recall, the bottom center picture is our own Vince Chesu responding to an after-hours call regarding a leaking hydrant. Our dedicated and committed personnel are always available to respond to any incident. We had an outstanding year, and here are a few of the successes we celebrated. The Department of Public Services facility turned 10 years old, and that facility has had a tremendous impact on our ability to succeed, as well as our recognition as 100 Best Fleets and our APWA Award for Project of the Year for Eddington and Drexelgate. Two of our most impactful initiatives have been the continual improvement to our local road conditions. Over the last 6 years, our good, fair local road conditions have improved from 67% to 90%. It is further reinforced by looking at the trending in red. This achievement is a real testament to your support. To complement this initiative is our commitment to finding and sustaining innovative solutions that directly impact the cost of services to our residents and businesses. NACWA has had a profound effect on marginalizing water rate increases, and I'm proud to report that this year's average increase is less than $1 per billing cycle. Grants and added funding over the year. The DPS continually seeks out funding to leverage our dollars, which provides us the ability to deliver more. And speaking of more, 2019 was another banner year for investment into our infrastructure. And two projects that I'd like to highlight are Auburn Road, a transformational project that will result in placemaking, safer pedestrian walkability, and an enhanced aesthetics. The other is the advanced construction of Livernois Road, a project scheduled to be delivered in 2021, but through careful and thoughtful budgeting, we're able to advance the project 2 years early.
When the city of Rochester Hills was born, we were there. As our city grew, we were there. And as our city stands at the gateway to a bright future, we are here. The Department of Public Service connects Rochester Hills, people to people, place to place, and much more. We are here to leave a permanent, positive impact on our quality of life, to reimagine the future of infrastructure where we live, work, and raise our families. We're bringing people together to expand opportunities and forging the tools that build a successful community. You don't have to look far to see our impact. From the Brooklands to the Village, you'll find places where our innovation is adding real value to our city. We will take on any challenge and steadily pursue our mission to build a better community for our neighbors, our visitors, and our children. Our passion is to create a Rochester Hills that inspires pride in all of us. We have been here since the beginning. We are here now, and you can count on us to always be here, strengthening our community, building the places we call home.
We had an incredible year. We have stayed laser focused on delivering projects and services that directly align with City Council goals and objectives. We stand ready to continue our everyday positive and permanent impact. Thank you, City Council, for the past, present, and future support.
Okay. Well, similar to Mr. Cope's department, yours is another one of those kind of frontline departments and city service agencies that, you know, we get called about frequently with concerns or needs of residents. And again, the timeliness and the turnaround and the immediate feedback that we get from you and from Mr. Davis and others in your department is greatly appreciated. And I hope that the residents know how fortunate we are. Council? That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'll kind of bring us home, I guess. I would like to thank City Council for, I think we can all say, probably one of the best budget workshops I think we've ever had. Many thanks to City Council for your attention and your questions prior. Hopefully we were able to get good answers. And many thanks especially to the city staff. What you've seen here over the course of the last few hours has taken hours and hours and hours of debate and discussion to put together such a tight package for you. So with that, if you have any other further questions, anything else you'd like to put on the table and discuss, we're here for you. The next step in this process would be the public hearing, which would be scheduled in, I believe, 2 weeks from tonight in September. And then with that, the final budget adoption for late September.
Well, I think Mr. Snyder, as you and the other department directors can attest, you know, I would like to thank council for getting their questions, concerns, requests for additional information all out to you and to the department directors and to the mayor's office in advance. And it's one of the things that I've so appreciated in the councils I've worked with, and this council in particular, is, you know, when we come to meetings, every agenda item has a resolution attached to it. And that you know, so the intention is to resolve these issues, not to come to the meeting and learn about the issues. So again, thank you to the council for being prepared, getting those questions out and answered, and policy and wording and addressed beforehand, so there is consensus and we can resolve these these issues, because coming to a council meeting and asking a question that renders a responsive, I'll have to get back to you, doesn't move the ball forward for us. And so it's that degree of discipline and behind-the-scenes work that a lot of the people don't see that just needs to be recognized, and I'm sure the mayor and everyone else will agree with my appreciation. Mayor Barnett.
Yeah, thank you, President Tisdale. I just wanted to comment about where you started to go, but maybe with a different perspective. From our perspective, the relationship that the administration has, the folks over here, with this council is not to be understated. We appreciate the fact that you saw, some of these surprises were even a little bit of surprise for me, but that indicates a level of comfort that they have in presenting to you, and a level of comfort in the fact that you've let them do their jobs. You don't micromanage every aspect. You set clear, targeted, high-level goals, and then trust the experts to be able to execute against those. And so, for us, it's, for some folks, they're very comfortable presenting to you. Some folks, it's new for them, but the fact that we can do it in a way that we can move through $168 million in just a couple of hours, the fact that this group is organized and does submit questions. For those watching at home, Joe, we probably had 75 questions that came in.
It was a full 15, 16 pages of questions and responses.
So this council did a lot of homework in advance, set a lot of questions. We spent most of the last few days internally trying to get the answers to those questions. But so please know that we appreciate the relationship, and that while you are very kind to the administrative team, a lot of this involves a relationship where there's mutual trust, and that allows hopefully you to do your jobs well for the residents that you represent, and our team to do the same as well. I just took a couple quick notes, and I think just in summary, I switch my attention and pivot now to the pride I have in the people here and those that made presentations today, and those not here, represented by the leaderships here. As you know, just briefly, fiscal team considered one of the best in the state. Millage rate, the same, City Council for the last 5 years. $8.5 million in a structural surplus budget. In the last 9 years, we've averaged coming in over our revenues by 4%. We've averaged coming in underneath our expenses by 6%. So while some things get missed, overall, the long-term timeline of that is that we do a really good job with budgeting. Assessing where the fount from which it all flows came in, it estimated at 3, came in at 4.8. The Sheriff's Department, the work that they do, consistently the safest city anywhere by just about any measure. Clerk's Department, I kind of titled theirs Promises Made, Promises Kept. Came to you guys with a new idea a few years ago about a columbarium, here today to tell you that it's sold out, making money, and doing exactly what we thought we would. You trusted them, and they delivered on that. Planning talked about, again, trusting them to go out and find businesses. They're doing a tremendous job, low unemployment rate, low vacancy rate, yet still creatively going out, this time internationally, and bringing back unique companies from Germany and from France, and the way that their team, by the way, they all sort of look the same too. Building, I thought Building did a great job. They nailed President Tisdale's name, so that was Building.
That was good.
DPS, top 100 fleets, taking care of some of the biggest and most aggressive projects we've ever done, as well as moving the needle on the residents' opinion of how their local roads are. And you know how difficult that is to get a statistical movement on that. Parks, doing the first new park in 30 years, yet still creating new programs and new opportunities to engage residents with over 1 million touches of people every single year. HR, back to tell you again, promises made, promises kept. You trusted us with a pay program that allowed us to reach out and do something a little exceptional for our team members, and it's paying off. Not only the people that Scott mentioned that came from other communities, we got the best building inspector from Orion Township, we got the best building inspector from Auburn Hills. If you didn't notice, last week we were here, we swore in the old fire chief from Waterford to serve as our public information officer. So we are attracting key people from other communities, and as we said in the Mayor's Business Council meeting, with an unemployment rate of under 3%, people aren't looking to hire from that group of 3% that's on the sideline. They're looking to hire from our team that's employed, and we're looking to hire from the teams that are employed in other communities. And so HR, I thought, did a great job. MIS, the internet's down, but that's not really your fault. It's back up now. It's back up. Way to go, Kevin. MIS, Johnny on the spot.
Yeah, it's just reboot. It's
Internet
not
was
the-
down
you know,
3
it's-
minutes ago. It's back up. Listen, you know, I could go on. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. I think you know how talented the people are that are here behind us, and we appreciate this. I can only tell you, when I go around the country, and as you know, I do talk about a lot of the things. When we talk about the budget process we have here, you watch how it crawls in many other communities, and it becomes a thing where council members despise other council members, and administrations get frustrated with council, and council get frustrated with administrations. And here, it's all focused on goals and objectives and driving towards a similar future, and I think that can't be understated. So as we wrap our presentation, I just would say a tremendous amount of thanks for the team back here. You should know, despite the fact that we went through this quickly tonight, that they all have done that several times. There's, I don't think, less than hundreds of hours of preparation to get to where it is tonight for you, hopefully so that it's tight and it feels like we should be well prepared. But also thank you to you for creating an environment where we can do this and where we can operate with the freedom to accomplish your goals year after year, but do it in a way that allows them the autonomy to be successful. So thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Council, any comments, anything else from anyone? Vice President Marita.
So, as usual, I think I spent my normal 12 hours pawing through the budget and sent staff, I don't even know how many questions, and I think out of the 15 pages of answers you had, probably 8 of it was about mine. So it's just my huge thank you to staff, because I would ask a question, then I would get an answer, and then there'd be a follow-up question. Ms. Barton was the victim of at least 2 of those. But I work with a lot of communities across the state, and I work with a lot of councils across the state, and I can say that at least this council, that we endeavor to work respectfully, not just of your time, but of each other's time. And we don't want to waste your time, and we don't want to waste each other's time with questions that can be answered ahead of time. And it's just a matter of respect, and it's respect for you, it's respect for our fellow council members. Not so much for the mayor, because he's here anyway, but we try to get the idea is to not have embarrassing questions. The idea is to not show someone up. There's no sandbagging. There's none of that stuff that you may see in some other communities. And I feel very lucky to live here, and I feel very lucky to be on this council with these particular council members that do take their job so seriously, and also help staff with really great questions, but ahead of time. So you have time to answer the questions, and we get the answers back, and we're in and out of here in a few hours as opposed to 3 days. So again, thank you to staff for getting my do not respond until Monday acronym emails, and some of you need to remember, do not respond until Monday. It's okay. I don't send you an email on a Sunday morning expecting you to get back to me. That day. Sometime next week, sure, but not on Sunday. That's just when I can get to it. So thank you for your hard work. Thank you for looking at the minutia when we bring it up and ask you those questions. And thank you for giving us really thoughtful responses that kind of resolve the issue. Then we don't have to discuss it here tonight. So I'm very grateful for all of you. I'm very grateful for all of you. I'm even grateful for Brian. So thanks, Brian.
There's an endorsement. There's one endorsement. Yeah. Dr. Boyer.
Thank you, President Tisdale. I also want to echo Ms. Marita's sentiment, and thank you to all the staff so much for getting back to us with all those questions that we had. And you do such a great job of answering the questions, and then your presentations are clear. And in the time I've been on the council for 4 years now, this has just gotten so much easier, and I think now that we have the policies for the general fund, we know how much we can spend out of the general fund. There's not those questions of, well, we don't want to go below this value. So I think it's made it so much easier. And also, the council members, like I said, we disagree respectfully, we can get along, but we all have the best of Rochester Hills needs are foremost in what we decide to do. But thank you so much to all the staff and all the employees here. You guys do a great job. Thank you.
Mr. Hetrick.
Thank you, President Tisdale. And I'll put an exclamation point on the fund balance policy. I know, Mr. Snyder, when you were first presenting, you said the next few slides are going to be boring. They're boring because we put something in place that allows us to be prepared on what we're going to do with that money, and we don't have to, as Dr. Boyer mentioned, have to argue over where's the money going to come from. We know exactly how that's going to occur, and it makes your job easier, it makes our job easier. And kind of to go along with one of your favorite sayings, Mr. Snyder, structural surplus, I think Mr. Schneck will be right behind you in the future with the phrase advance construct. And I say that with a little bit of humor, but also a lot of sincerity, because that's another thing that very few communities can do. Because of what you've done, because of the things he's done, we're in a position where we can do those things. And when residents can see the quality of their roads improving, and we can do it in a way that is accelerated, puts us in a far better position. So I use the phrase, I think Mr. Schneck can use the phrase advanced construct in the same way you can use the phrase structural surplus. It's a way of putting an exclamation point on how well run our city is. Thank you.
Well, our next regularly scheduled meeting is Monday, August 26, 2019, 7 p.m. right here in the City Hall auditorium. If there's nothing else, we have a motion by Vice President Morita, seconded by Dr. Boyer for adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, City Council.